Everyone, it's Sarah and welcome to my crochet channel. Today's video I'm going to show you how to crochet a Valentine lollipop. They're super easy to make and they're even more fun to give. They're great for classes like your school classes for your kids, Sunday school, maybe Girl Scouts. They're also fun for decorating. You can stick them in jars or whatever you want to do. They're just super fun to make and super easy to make because you can make them with your leftover yarn scraps. Now this is a free crochet pattern on my blog and you can find that link down in the notes underneath this video. To make the Valentine lollipops, you're going to need some lollipops. And I just used Tootsie Roll Pops or Blow Pops or any of the lollipops or suckers that are about the same size. You're also going to need some yarn. And I'm just using some leftover medium weight acrylic yarn. You can use any yarns that you have on hand that are medium number 4. Cotton, cotton blend, wool, whatever you have will work. And whatever colors you choose will work as well. These are just Valentine colors, and for today's demonstration I'm going to be using this lavender and this pink. They're both Red Heart Super Saver. I believe this one is Red Heart Soft. Medium number 4 weight yarns. We're going to be stitching today with our H hook, which is a 5.0 millimeter crochet hook. You'll need a needle to weave in your ends, and of course you'll need your scissors. The heart measures about 3 inches at its widest point, and it's about 3 inches long. And so it also makes a really nice applique if you want to add it to, say, a bag or even just a Valentine. Anything that you wanted to add it to, it's a nice size. We're going to be making 2 hearts because you're going to need a front and a back. And then we're going to be stitching them together, leaving the back open at the bottom to slide the sucker up inside. We're going to begin with our slip knot. We're going to chain 4. Then we're going to place 3 double crochets in the 4th chain from the hook. The first 3 chains will count as 1 double crochet. So yarn over, go in that 4th chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, and go through the second 2. And we'll do this 2 more times. Right in that same chain. And then we'll chain 3. So our chain 3 at the beginning counted as 1 double crochet, and then we stitched 3 more double crochets. So we have for row 1 4 double crochets and a chain 3. We chained 3 and turn. We're going to place a double crochet in that first stitch, and that's going to give us an increase by 1 on this end. We're going to stitch 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches, 1 and 2, and then in our chain 3 that counted as our first double crochet, we're going to stitch 2 double crochets in the top of that chain 3. So there's 1 and 2, and then again we're going to chain 3. So we've increased at the beginning and end of this row. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 double crochets, chain 3 for row 2. Row 3, we're going to do what we did on row 2. We're just going to have more stitches. So we chained 3, turn, 1 double crochet in the same stitch as our chain 3, 1 double crochet in the next 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'll stitch 2 double crochets in the top of that chain 3 from the previous row that counted as a double crochet. And now we're just going to chain 1. And so now on our third row we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 double crochets and only a chain 1 this time. Now for row 4, we're going to be forming the 2 bumps on the top of our heart. So we chained 1, we're going to turn. We chained 1, and the chain 1 counts as our first single crochet. We're going to skip the next stitch, and then in the next stitch we're going to stitch 5 double crochets. Yarn over, go in, and stitch our double crochet, and we're going to stitch a total of 5 in this same stitch. So there's 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we have 5 double crochets in that same stitch. Now we're going to stitch a slip stitch between the 4th and 5th double crochet. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to go down in between, there's the last 4 right here, and stitch a slip stitch. So we'll pull up a loop, then pull that loop through the loop that's on our hook. We're going to skip that next stitch and stitch 5 double crochets in the next stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to skip the next stitch and stitch a single crochet in that last stitch. All right, so let's look at this, make sure we understand how we did it. We chained 1 and we turned, and that chain 1 counted as our first single crochet. We skipped the next double crochet, and then in the next double crochet we stitched 5 double crochets. Then we stitched a slip stitch between the 4th and 5th double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so then we skipped the next stitch and stitched 5 double crochets in the next stitch, skip the next stitch, and we ended with a single crochet. And now we're going to cut our yarn and tie that off. And then we'll just take a couple minutes and weave these 2 ends in. Now remember, you need 2 hearts, a front and a back, to make the lollipop heart or Valentine. So I'm just going to take a couple of minutes and weave these to the back of my heart. And remember, it's up to you which side you want to have your front or your back. I like to have this side as my front. All right, so I'm going to need to weave this end in and make another heart. I decided to do my second heart in white. That way you can see exactly where to put your stitches. Now this is my front on both my hearts, so I'm going to put them together with the front sides facing out. We're going to put our hook in at row 2 on the side, and make sure when you're stitching you're going through stitches and not holes, because you don't want any gaping holes to show. All right, so I'm going to pull in my pink, which I'm using for my edge. And what we're going to do is we're going to stitch up around. We'll place a slip stitch in the center, then we'll stitch back around here, and then we'll only stitch on the front down here. So we're going to evenly stitch single crochets going through the front and the back. Here's my next stitch. And once we get around to the top, we have stitches to stitch in, which makes it nice and easy. So we can stitch in those 5 double crochets going through the front and the back. That brings us to our slip stitch. So we're going to go in the slip stitch on this side and the slip stitch on the back and stitch a slip stitch. Then we'll go right in that next stitch and go back to stitching single crochets around the top of our heart. All right, so now we're going to single crochet down to the second row, evenly stitching. And there is not a set amount of stitches that you need to have. You just need to place them close together so they look pretty but not bunched up. There we go. So now we have an opening to be able to slide our Tootsie Roll Pop or whatever kind of sucker that we're using. So the next thing we need to do is just finish off the front, and we're only going to be stitching the front heart. So we'll continue to evenly stitch single crochet stitches. Then when we get to that point, we're going to put 2 in that point, which helps us have a nice pointy point on our heart. And then we'll go up the side and stitch single crochets until we meet up with that first single crochet. And then we'll just go in and stitch a slip stitch and tie off. And I like to go in the next stitch, pull that loop to the back, and tie off to the back. And I do that because I just think it makes it look a lot neater on the front. All right, so here is our heart. We need to weave these 2 ends in. Well, let me show you. It's a little snug because we want our sucker to stay put. All right, so we'll just take our needle and weave these in. And that really is how simple it is to make these covers for our Valentine lollipops. Now, if you want to make this into an applique, you can just do 1 heart or 2 and stitch all the way around it. It depends on how thick you want that heart to be. When I'm making an applique, I usually just make 1 heart and stitch around it the same way, only with 1 thickness. But it just depends on what you're doing. If you're putting it on the front of a bag, you might want that double thickness. Okay, so here's our heart. We'll take our sucker, again, slide it up inside. And now it's ready to be given away or used as a decoration. I love making these. I think they're so much fun. And I really, really enjoy giving them away as well. And that's just how quick and easy it is to make the Valentine lollipops.